pyramid. That's something a little bit different. I must be, well, no, it's been well established that I'm a sucker for punishment. Because you make a video like that and you're going to get every kook in the world stopping by to rain shit down on you. So we'll see how it goes. I thought it was interesting. It's something I've been thinking about for quite a long time, actually. I actually came up with that a number of years ago, and I was going to make this video. Well, I was going to make a more simple video a couple of years ago. And when I was like, I had the blocks already. If you can recall, I made, or if you saw it, I made vents for the soffits from wood. And in between the strips, there were these small blocks. And so I had a huge pile of those. And I said, this is my opportunity to do the pyramid. And I didn't do it. I waited until now. I wrote a lot more detail in the website article. And I really wish people would take the time. You know, it doesn't take long to read the article, to go and read the stuff that I wrote there, because I went into a bit more detail. Well, I went into a lot more detail, actually, because as I was editing the video, I was thinking about stuff and, you know, solving minor problems and so on and so forth. And so I put all that in the website article. I mean, it has to do with a number of different things. So well worth reading if you watch the video. So what else is there to say about it? Well, I'll talk briefly about the people that I believe made it. I don't think it was the ancient Egyptians. There's certainly a lot of evidence that these things are older than the more recent construction that happened in the area. And if you look at the caliber of the work and compare it to more recent stuff, the more recent stuff is way cruder. And my guess is that the people that built these were very highly, extremely, fanatically devoted to getting these things done, because all the evidence points to that. I mean, this is enormous. Like, to build these things would be an enormous task. And the way I describe with the stones basically walking up the steps, you know, rolling end for end, like that would be steady constantly, right? Okay, say if you had the base and you got that done, and then the next course up, you built a ramp up to that, because that's not so high. You wouldn't have to make the ramp too far. Like from here, you get a ramp out to about here. Hold it up where you can see it. From here, you get a ramp out to about here, and you could get it up like that. You might be able to do the first few courses with a ramp and just roll them up. But after that, it just wouldn't be practical to keep building a ramp. Why would you do that, you know? So that's my idea, to include these steps or stairs inside the structure itself that would be filled in after, and they would stockpile. I said all this in the website article, but I'll say it here too, because most of you won't go read that. So stockpile the blocks that filled in the stairs beside the openings. And, you know, I attempted to do this stuff it just doesn't look right. I mean, you can't get the right representation of how this thing actually was done with something that's the scale of which is way off like this. I mean, the individual blocks here are incredibly massive compared to the scale of the pyramid itself. So I really couldn't demonstrate it with the model. Not like I hoped I could. But I thought I did a good job of going over the other details in the website article. There you go. As for the stone facing, somebody pointed out that the stones were not placed the way I did. I did this here for simplicity. I said it's made from the top down, and I still believe that. He said that some of them overhang the ones below. You can do that, of course, because they are sloping. It's the center of gravity of the stone. I mean, if you put a stone in here that's overhanging a little bit, you can still slide a stone in underneath. no problem, because the bulk of the weight of the stone is sitting on the step, the block step that it sits on. The other thing, what about technology, lost technology, and, some kind of magical means or advanced means that we don't have today that could lift these blocks up? The problem with that, I'm not saying that didn't happen, but the problem with it is that if they had that means at their disposal, they would have made all the blocks all the way up the same size. I mean, it would only make sense. You can look at how uniform a structure you can get if you use the same size block all the way up. But they didn't do that. They used smaller blocks as the thing got taller. So that suggests to me, anyway, that moving the bigger stones was a task that they wanted to avoid, especially as the thing got higher. The other thing about quarrying, cutting the stones out, I think that's the most impressive thing of all. I mean, not only did they have to move these stones, they had to cut them out of the limestone bedrock, basically. And that's a monumental task right there. And if they had some kind of advanced technology to do that, they would have made all of the stones exactly the same size and very uniform, like the stones I made here, because that would have made placing the facing stones that much easier. Another thing that's been brought up in the comments, I'm trying not to read the comments actually, but I did notice this one, and I talked about this in the article about the larger stones that were used inside the pyramid itself, like above the king's chamber. I think there are stones that are as large as 60 tons. It's my belief that they would be moved up as the pyramid was built. So you start off with the 60-ton block on the base, and then as you're building the courses up, that would be lifted up to the next course. Like you would lever up one side, put a course of block under one side, that side of it, lever up the other side, and put blocks underneath that, so it would be on the next course up. And then the next course up, you do the same thing. And yes, it would be difficult. It would be extremely difficult. Like, I don't know how many levers it would take to lever that up, but they did it. So you have to figure out the easiest way or the most plausible way that they did it. And for me, that would be it right there. They started with those stones, like they had a plan in mind, obviously, when they did it, because they have chambers that were built in, and that's the other thing. The chambers, the passageways, would be built into the thing as they went up. They just leave stones out. They make these openings through the thing as they go up. That's the easiest way, or the most practical way. But you would need a plan, and you would need, a lot of planning involved in the whole thing. So this brings me back to the people that made it. I mean, I don't see a largely unskilled slave workforce being able to pull this off. I mean, there's just too much skill. There's way too much planning involved in the whole thing for it not to be a project that was funded by something. And I don't mean money. I mean, I'm almost seeing, I don't know, I tend to think of that movie Conan. I never read the book, but I saw the movie back in the 80s, and the James Earl Jones character, I don't remember his name from the thing, but the level of devotion that his followers had wouldn't even come close to what these people had here. Where he makes a girl walk off a cliff type thing to her death. That's the kind of devotion, dedication, even like a small percentage of it, that the people would have to build these things, in my opinion. And that's the thing. This is all my opinion, because we don't know for certain how any of this was done. And all I can do is base, what I know on moving things, larger things, and apply it to this. I mean, not everybody, but anybody that's moved big things, like something that you can't clear from the ground, you walk it. You know, you'd pick it up onto like one corner and move the other corner, and you wouldn't have to do that like by manhandling. You could do it with levers, type thing. The key point is that the thing never leaves the ground, like it never leaves the main support. The example I made in the website article was putting a fridge up into the back of a pickup truck. Walk the fridge over to the back of the pickup truck. The tailgate of the pickup truck is at midpoint of the fridge. You lift one end of the fridge and it levers up onto the back. So you're not lifting anything really. You're just tipping it. So anyway, like I said, I don't know how well that's going to do. It's doing okay so far this morning. I'm not expecting amazing things from it, but you never know. With a video like that and as popular as the topic is these days, and that's part of the reason why I did it. The only thing that I could have done to make it even better was to suggest that the Neanderthals built it. Okay, 37,000 years ago, before they went extinct, they built the thing because they had greater physical strength than us. That would have been great, actually. I should have done that.
Now, my brother, I shall be king. Guards, knights, squires, prepare for battle.